Sorry for getting a little bit emotional.
I'm going to be straight with you.
I just haven't weathered it that well, I don't think. The depression thing is now an issue for me.
I'm just going to cover like this up a little bit so as not to offend anybody. We have made a decision.
Guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bri. I write books. I'm currently working on my first draft of my first novel and documenting the process. It's a speculative archaeological thriller, but I'm also I'm brewing ideas in fantasy and dark academia where I probably write more usually, to be fair. So we are overdue a catch-up about NaNoWriMo and how it's going. Let's talk about whether or not we admit defeat. Let's talk a little bit about mental health. This is kind of separate to writing, but obviously has a really big impact on it too. And some exciting news, and also a crisis of confidence. It's all happening.
So my 2-year-old is napping in the back right now, and I'm going to try and seize the opportunity to get a bit of writing done in terms of updates. It's been shambolic, and I think at this point it's probably necessary to admit that the goal of 50k is a lost cause unless I get really lucky and I manage to pull 3 10k sessions, with the time that I actually get on my own is highly unlikely. It's just been a series of obviously my laptop broke, and typing into my phone or onto the iPad or even writing longhand for me, it's just not as efficient. And so yeah, there's that. But then my youngest hasn't been well. Each night I'm getting a max of about 4 hours sleep at the moment. It is what it is. I think it's a shame. It feels like a bit of a conspiracy, because I would really have liked to, even if I fall short of the 50, I'd like to have really pulled it out the bag. And I think at this point I've covered maybe 6,000-ish words, and we're halfway through, so it should be about 25k. So that is a significant lag, but any progress is what I'm telling myself. And sometimes life happens. I feel like I'm looking about 20 years older and I've had my birthday during Nano, but it should only be 1 year. But yeah, feeling tired, but also really optimistic. Just that I am building a daily writing habit, even on the days where I've tumbled into bed. I might only have bashed out 100 words in notes before going to sleep, but that's better than nothing. So yeah, I'm gonna try not to waste this nap and see what I can bash out. Writing sprint is now over. My youngest woke up but got some words done. Managed to find my original plotting document, which I'd lost track of, because I'm struggling now that I've run out of knowing confidently where I'm going, and I need the next steps that I plotted to help me get to the next bit. So yeah, little footsteps incoming, but yeah, I think that was good. Added some words, even if they weren't all good. We've obviously, seen that hitting that word count every day hasn't been possible for me in this season, whether through a combination of just where I'm at when I finally get my writing sessions in and the amount of creativity I guess I feel I have in the bank, or the fact that I don't get as much time as I'd like to make sure I'm up to speed with the details of my outline and what I've just written before, and really enter a writing session in the zone and ready to progress. Plus logistics, sick children, sleep deprivation, all of these things. I'm not trying to make excuses, because I would say I think I've actually done really well on showing up to write anyway. All of these things that have been really less than ideal and I've given it a good go anyway. And I've spoken about this with a few of you, because a lot of people have felt liberated to be what, maybe we don't have to do big numbers and have high output writing sessions always. Maybe we can normalize, smaller sessions. Maybe it's just a few hundred words here and there, but it takes us longer, I'm sure, but we still make progress. yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I've had a little update that I thought would be fun to share, because whatever happens at the end of November, and I'm going to be straight with you, it is not looking like I will finish anywhere near adding 50k to my novel. It's going to be, at this stage, I feel a bit like it's optimistic to say I'll have added 30,000, to be honest. I am lagging behind. It is okay. But it was my 35th birthday. Was it last week? I've kind of lost where we are at in time, in like a sleep deprivation haze. But my wonderful husband put together, I'm just gonna cover like this up a little bit so as not to offend anybody, but he put together this gorgeous brochure for me. It was the most thoughtful birthday gift I could ever have imagined, really. And I think he might have used AI to help him write parts of it, but that is okay. I will forgive him. It is not a novel. And he put together a selection of writing courses for me to choose from. He also included a placeholder for others he might have missed, but he still wants the credit for the idea. And he said, you know, he will support me to, you know, we can get me on a course, assuming they're application based. So obviously I'd have to be selected, accepted, whatever. I'm really excited. So the ones that he had a look at for me were the NaNoWriMo Premium Fiction Pathways, which is an online course, Faber Academy's Writing a Novel, which can either be based in person in London or online. Curtis Brown Creative, Writing Your Novel, which is in person based, I think he's put brackets London, and Jericho Writers Ultimate Novel Writing Program / the novel writing course, but he was like, I think you should look at the Ultimate Novel Writing Program. They vary in length. I think the shortest is 6 months, the longest is 12 months. We have made a decision as to what I'm hoping will be the one, obviously subject to them accepting me. I have a call with them later this week to just confirm the fit and that it is kind of what I'm hoping for, because if I can finish my manuscript, not at the end of Nano as I was hoping, but maybe even end of December, this course would kick off in March, so there's a clue. If you happen to know when these different ones start, you'll know which one I've chosen. I'll have a massive head start because I will actually already have a finished first draft. It's going to be messy, but then the course will be amazing for helping me rewrite, adapt and shape with a view to kind of getting it moving towards maybe querying. And the course is really great because they also include sections on editing. You get exposure to their kind of industry contacts, and you end up in an anthology which is sent to agents, I believe, at the end, agents or publishers, I forget. This is kind of incredible motivation for me. It's an amazing opportunity to up-level my craft in a structured way. I work really well with structure. I would be a lifelong student, probably, if I could be. I'm quite nostalgic for my undergraduate university days studying literature, less so for the postgrad law stuff I did. Let's not talk about that. But it'll be really fun to get to take it really seriously and be in classes with other writers, have a mentor who works in the industry, is a published author, a lot of them are editors and things as well. You know, I would hope this is one that I can get to a place where I'm happy for it to be something I try to query. I have other things I want to write. I know in my head there are 2 novel ideas already, Project Tea Leaves and Project Garnet, I'm going to call them. But, you know, for now, I want to work on this one and learn lessons from this first draft process, from polishing it, from taking a course, and we will see where we get to. I promise we can catch up, and I just want to have this call with them and make sure that I am right about it being the one for me, and then I'll take you through the journey, I guess, of applying and see what happens. It's nice to have this to zoom out and be like, it doesn't matter if I didn't do 50k words in 30 days, because there are so many opportunities, there are so many more things I can do to get better, to make my book better, and this course, it's going to be incredible. So I'm really excited. Archaeosaurus felt quite lost. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. How could she bring the sunshine back and chase away the tears? Okay, confession time. Yesterday was the first day of NaNoWriMo where, if you can hear noise in the background, that's my 2-year-old, by the way. Yesterday was the first day of NaNoWriMo where I didn't write anything. So basically, we're getting no sleep in our house. We've had poorly children, and when I say no sleep, like, I'm not just talking about them waking up like every hour unwell. It's like the time that they actually are asleep. Here you go, my darling. There's a lot of like kicking and scrabbling, so I get to sleep for maybe about 7 minutes before the next. Ooh, I'll pass it to you, sweetheart. There we go. Before the next scrabble, and like, obviously, yeah, that level of sleep deprivation where you don't even get to go into like a deep sleep chunk for any time is not fun. And so as a result, obviously, everything feels a lot more overwhelming. I had a lot of other stuff to do, so I kind of did all the things that I absolutely had to do yesterday, and then by the time I kind of had a moment to sit down to write, I just felt so drained, like physically, mentally, creatively, that I didn't do it. And I think, yeah, like, I'm kind of upset about it actually, but I think that's again because I'm sleep deprived, and I'm more upset at the situation, like just stuff being hard right now and being so excited to do this, but sort of feeling like I was unable. I think I don't want to miss 2 days in a row. We'll see what we can do to pick things back up, but maybe a she'll nap, we can squeeze in a writing session. Safe to say I have never needed coffee more. Another thing that, oh, little cough, my love. Another thing that is definitely contributing to slower output right now is I had this character that I couldn't decide whether I was going to introduce, and I think I have decided to. They've appeared in the novel, and I'm not entirely confident of everything about them and what's going to happen and how they affect the next steps, and like the detail of where I'm going next in my outline. Basically, it's thrown a bit of a spanner in the works, and I stopped writing at like a point where I needed to kind of reveal some things, but I don't 100% know what I'm going to reveal yet about it. And so I think it's just a case of I haven't plotted. What's up, my love? Yeah, the drone doesn't have any batteries. It's just a case of like I haven't plotted tightly enough, and so I think before I can do more writing, I need to sit down, look at my outline. You can't. Should we go put the drone on charge? Yeah, I need to really kind of work through exactly what I want to happen. I think I know, but because it's not like set in stone in my head. That was noisy, wasn't it? Yeah, anyway, this update clearly is going to be interrupted too many times, so I'll catch you later. So I can't remember if we've talked about this yet, but my laptop is back. It's fixed. It set me back far too much, but it is back, and I'm really hoping that that's going to mean I can pull things out the bag for Nano. But right now, why am I at the kettle? I don't want tea, I want coffee. You have to excuse the terrible lighting and just the mess everywhere, but I think right now my best bet is to try and do a bit of reading. I mentioned in a short recently the 3 books I'm reading, fiction books, to kind of level up my craft. So I think I will read some pages and see if that kind of gets me feeling a bit more inspired, and then from there maybe I can get a writing session if this little one is willing to watch for a little bit longer. I honestly couldn't tell you why I've kept the dust jacket on this one, because I hate dust jackets. I always take them off, but this is what I'm reading to kind of, not because I'm a huge fan of his books as such, but you know, there's no denying how successful he has been, but also his mastery of like literally roller coaster, breakneck speed, super fast pacing. So taking what craft lessons I can. Oh, trying to make sure my 2-year-old's head doesn't pop up on camera. Yeah, so just gonna try and like take what lessons I can from this. I'll let you know my verdict maybe at the end. I really want another Earl Grey or coffee, but my nervous system is feeling super jangled and I'm really anxious right now, so I'm gonna go for this rose tea. It's an Ayurvedic blend with rose petals, hibiscus, can't say that, hibiscus, and lavender flowers. I don't know, I sort of believe intellectually in Ayurveda, but I actually find it really inspirational for kind of fantasy and magic systems and things like that. So let's see if this tea will do the trick. And this is cute too, the little yogi tea sayings they give you. You see this one, those who have found their fulfillment are blessed. That's really sweet.
Filming in my car because it's the only option with kids. So at the point of recording this, I've kind of forgotten all of the mini update kind of things that I filmed and shared with you. So I guess you'll have charted along a bit more of the nano journey with me and where we're landing right now. I'm not giving you a word count update because I haven't checked it, and I probably should have done. But I think, you know, I've added a real decent chunk to the manuscript, but nowhere near what would be on track for like winning nano. I've also ended up having maybe 3 days of no writing, one where I actively made the decision like this is a self-care thing. My kids have been sick. Sleep for me has therefore ended up often in the single digits in some nights, and I'm very sleep deprived. I then got sick too, especially like with my ADHD, but just, you know, emotional volatility, it really doesn't help my mood and my mental health, and as a result my creativity levels are different, but also like my prioritization of writing changes because it's like write or sleep. I need to sleep if I've only had like 2 hours in broken chunks the nights before. So I have fallen behind, and that in itself, if you've seen any of my other videos or my shorts, I think I've got a very kind of balanced attitude that actually you don't always have to be doing these huge numbers. I think it's fine to take the baby steps you need to still be moving, but for it to be small and not exciting and not glamorous, I think that's okay. It's not that that's getting me down. I think elsewhere in life the sleep deprivation really doesn't help, but I've mentioned elsewhere too that I've suffered 2 miscarriages this year, and I think I did really well processing and grieving and moving on from the first. I think the second, the compounded effect of the 2, I don't know, I just haven't weathered it that well, I don't think, and I've ended up, the depression thing is now an issue for me, and obviously that raises problems with creating, writing, but also just sort of feeling functional day to day and feeling well in myself and needing to prioritize looking after myself, but also a lack of energy to do any of those things. So I feel like I've had a tough time, and stuff that sounds really minor, like the kids being ill and then passing it to me, and then lots of sleepless nights with a 5 and 2-year-old, it sounds kind of just like run-of-the-mill and mundane, but to me it's felt like a really big deal because it felt like my overwhelm levels and bandwidth for stuff was here, and then any tiny little squabbles from the kids or just the illness or whatever, it all just kind of, I feel like there's no tolerance there to begin with, so then everything just starts spilling over the second something goes wrong. And you know, it's partly on me to kind of try to be like, you know, this isn't happening to me, like I'm not a victim in this scenario, but equally like I need to be looked after a little bit, and there isn't that capacity in life right now. So long and not writing specific, but I think a lot of you will probably identify like how when you are feeling either in those lows or there's just a lot of difficult stuff that's consuming your energy, it does have a knock-on effect onto your writing. And like sometimes writing provides an escape, I think, or a nice productive focus, and I have found that probably so far through Nano, with the caveat that taking the pressure off to hit big numbers really helped. But just lately, these last few days, like it just, yeah. So it feels a little bit like I felt a bit kind of beaten up by the life thing, and as a result I've had to kind of hold my hands up and say, all right, big boss Nano, I'm probably admitting defeat this year. I don't want to call it that as such, because I will still try to write where I can and make progress this November. If I don't finish the book in November, nobody dies, you know. It's like I can finish it in December. The writing course that I'm applying for is super exciting. I love the idea. I'm starting to get a bit nervous just having had this run of sick kids and no sleep, that like committing to it, and with my husband's work schedule, I don't know how realistic it is, but let's put those worries aside for now. What I did want to talk about with the course was actually, I think as a byproduct of this lack of sleep and falling behind and my kind of depression and struggling, I've had a crisis of confidence about the course. I was so excited. Normally I live quite well in that delusional, I nearly said delulu and I went for delusional delulu state where you're like, yes, I'm going to follow my dreams, like my writing might be crap right now, but I'm going to work on it, it's only a discovery draft, I'll fix it in later draft, it's going to be good, one day we're going to do this, we're going to have a book out. And I think the process of going through the application form and knowing I'd have to put it in front of people and then trying to select 1,500 words to include with that application and struggling, I ended up with 9,000 to try and choose from, or like whittle down. It makes no sense. Anyway, realizing that someone was going to read it, and then I gave it to my husband to like proof the application form and get his input and see what he thought of the words that I'd written. And just, it sounds really silly, but just like feeling really vulnerable, even like showing him my writing, I felt so stupid and like a little girl and really exposed. And like obviously he's gonna be kind to me about it. I mean, he's also like a very practical person, and like he was like, do you want notes or do you and I'm like, I don't think I'm in a place for the notes right now, can you just write the notes down and we'll talk about it later. But then he's got like a very deadpan voice, right? So we kind of joke that it doesn't, when he's in high or low emotional states, it kind of, you can't always tell. So then he's trying to sound enthused without being sarcastic. So he's like, it's really good. And I'm like, your voice is all high. Like you're trying, and he's like, yeah, but if I don't, you're going to think I'm bored and sarcastic, and I'm not. Anyway, digression. So I'm feeling a crisis of confidence brought on, I guess, by, trying to apply for the writing course. But if I'm actually stepping back and being objective, the whole lack of sleep and mental health situation is feeding into it too. I think it's not the end of the world to not finish Nano. You know, I can still work at a pace that works for me to finish the book by the end of December.
Lest it all sound too doom and gloom though, I did get like a decent chunk done when I tried Murakami's writing routine. And also that weekend was a 5k weekend. I managed to do 2 sprints in like a cafe. I thought 5k for me in one weekend was pretty decent, but yeah, just thought I'd try and inject a tiny bit more positivity.
I'm going to completely flip now from talking about how small chunks as something that I've backed and have, even that hasn't been manageable for me lately, to I discovered, thank you YouTube algorithm gods, I discovered A.K. Morford, her videos on YouTube, and I love her like enthusiasm and the way she talks. I haven't read any of her books, but I'm absolutely going to. She's traditionally published for her fantasy series, I believe, and indie published for, she has some like kind of paranormally romance and bits and pieces that sound fun and like nice and escapist. So anyway, she did a really cool video because she's a neurodivergent writer with, I think she said ADHD. Did you say ADHD? I can't remember. I hope I'm saying this right. I have ADHD, diagnosed late in life with ADHD. It makes a lot of sense about a lot of things, but she was saying how ways of trying to work with your brain as a neurodivergent ADHD writer, often these like long challenges, as in over 30 days or more, they kind of don't ride the waves of like ADHD brains where like it can be very intense, all or nothing, and you can really gun for something and then need to pull back. And there's kind of, we work in sprints broadly rather than like, you know, this kind of long slow burn. And I think that's probably true because we're all about like the novelty, the enthusiasm, the urgency. And so she does this 30k in 3 days challenge, which sounds kind of nuts to me. And right now I can't do it because of like the schedule with the kids. I couldn't get enough dedicated writing time to do that. But it did make me wonder if it being a 3-day chunk where you just have to do this intense focus for a short time would be a good way of working with my brain. Because whether it's the ADHD or before I was diagnosed, I just thought it was my personality. I am very all or nothing about pretty much everything. I'm either not running or I'm running marathons and ultra marathons. Like back when I used to drink, not great, we'll just say. And now I'm like nearly 6 years sober, so I'm very like extremes, and so I do wonder if that could work for me. So I'd love to know if you've tried it. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Sorry for getting a little bit emotional. We move, it's winter, isn't it? Everybody's trying to muddle through. I hope you guys are all doing okay. I hope your nano is going better than mine, but if it isn't, please don't worry, because it's not just you. You're not alone. I'll see you in the next one.